Welcome to another episode of Mental Wellness Insights, bringing sunlight into mental health. In this week's episode, Dr. Carla Marie Manly, a clinical psychologist, life fulfillment expert, and an author based in California, speaks to us about indecisiveness. Have you subscribed to this channel? If not, please do so. Click on the notification bell, share, like, and comment. Blessings.
I'm Dr. Carla Marie Manly. I'm a clinical psychologist in Sonoma County, California. I specialize in treating relationship issues, anxiety, stress, and overall improving well-being. A lot of my focus is on helping people understand their emotional intelligence, self-empowerment, and communication skills. I've written 4 books. The first is Joy from Fear. The second is Aging Joyfully. The third is Date Smart, Transform Your Relationships and Love Fearlessly. And my fourth, The Joy of Imperfect Love, is focused on helping you evolve in loving ways, starting with yourself and then improving your relationships with everyone in your world. So the work that I do is really focused on improving mental health and mental health awareness, not just locally, but globally.
Thank you. And of course, your podcasts, which are very interesting. It's called Imperfect.
Yes, my podcast is called Imperfect Love.
Yes.
And the reason I named it Imperfect Love is I realized what name could cover every aspect of life, every aspect of mental health. And I believe that everything comes down to love or a lack of. And so if I created a podcast where people could bring their questions and the topics and then just support people by looking at real life issues and helping us see that we're all imperfect, but the journey is about learning to navigate life's imperfections with a little more ease and a little more joy.
Now, indecision.
Indecision. So indecision, I know it's our topic for the day. So let's focus on first, what is indecision?
Yeah.
Indecision is when we are on a fence, so to speak, and we're focused on, I don't know if I want to go on this side of the fence or this side or backwards or forwards. And when it's not a mental health disorder, but it is a life stressor. So there are times in life when we all become indecisive. We have a choice in front of us and we're thinking, what should I do? What should I do? And that's a normal process. But what we don't want to do is stay in that space of what should I do? What should I do? Or react and just jump to one side or the other just to say we made a decision. Mm-hmm. So when we notice that we're indecisive, that we're having trouble making a decision, what I counsel people to do is meditate, relax, go for a walk, journal, talk to someone you trust, just download. And sometimes when we do that and we just put the topic a little bit over here, instead of it making this big thing right in front of us, but we work with it in a bunch of different ways. Then we allow the psyche, the mind and the spirit to start to speak to us. And there are some people who believe in things like tarot cards or reading tea leaves or whatever your practice is, or looking at what the stars have to say. And whatever works for you, whatever gives you more information that helps you make a decision. And I love that you ask, is this a mental health issue? When we're wondering, is this a mental health issue? It can cause mental health issues.
Yes, it can cause mental health issues.
It can cause stress. It can cause anxiety. Indecisiveness can cause depression. Why? Our bodies are not meant to stay, when we think about like a fence, if we're on a fence and like this pen is a fence, it takes a lot of effort to stay poised on that fence, trying to figure out which way should I go, which way should I go. And often we'll stay there because we don't want to make a bad decision. We don't want to go forward, we don't want to go back, we don't want to go this way or this way. But the truth is, every decision we make is going to have upsides and downsides.
Yeah.
The idea is to look at each direction, each possible direction, maybe make a pro-con list of, if I go this way, what are the upsides and what are the downsides? And then allow yourself to make an educated, self-aware decision that allows you to go forward. Or to one side, because it takes so much energy just to try and balance on that one place.
Yeah.
And you're wasting that energy.
What exactly causes indecisiveness? Is there?
It's such a good question, Pamela. And indecisiveness can come from so many sources. For many people, and I just alluded to it, for many people it comes from a fear of getting it wrong.
Fear.
And yes, a fear. Oh, and that's my first book. My first book is called Joy from Fear.
Yeah.
Because so many of our decisions are based on fear. We are afraid we will get it wrong. We are afraid we won't be loved. We are afraid we won't be accepted. We are afraid we'll lose money. We are afraid we'll lose a relationship. And that's why I'm saying that if we're coming from a place of fear, we generally make a bad choice.
And what could be the root cause of the fear?
You have so many good questions. So the root causes of our fears can come from often childhood, where if we learn in childhood, if a parent teaches us in childhood, have faith in your decisions. If you make a decision and you look at, should I go to this birthday party or not? And if you make a decision that feels right to you, that's healthy. Or should I join this sports group or take this class? And in a healthy childhood, the parents teach the child that it's okay to experiment. It's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
That mistakes can be learning opportunities.
Yes.
And the child is raised to feel comfortable experimenting, comfortable with mistakes. Then they don't do what we call analysis, paralysis by analysis, where you analyze and analyze and analyze and be so indecisive because you're afraid. You become paralyzed. And for many people, it is childhood, where they didn't learn that it was okay and natural and normal to make mistakes and that you can learn from them. For some people, it's something that happened in adulthood, where they've been very good at making decisions and getting on in life, and then they pick a partner who is abusive and they didn't know it, or they get fired from a job, so they become very afraid of getting a new job, or they got into a bad accident while exercising, so now they're afraid to make a decision about, do I exercise or choose a new form of exercise? So often some sort of trauma causes that indecisiveness. But definitely, again, we're all indecisive at least a little bit. Sometimes in simple things like, it's time for breakfast. Should I have this or should I have this? That's healthy and normal because we're using it as an opportunity to check in with the mind, the heart, and the body of what am I hungry for? And then the decision. Some days it will be eggs, some days it will be cereal, some days it will be, milk, who knows? But all about and we can look at decisions that simply. When we're making a really big decision, we just want to slow it down and say, what is right for me? Body, mind, and spirit. And then, and this is key, Pamela, not blame yourself once you've made the decision.
Mm-hmm.
Because then that will create a cycle of, oh, I made this decision. It didn't have a perfect outcome. So I am a bad decision maker. And then a new decision comes up, and then you're afraid because da, da, da. And we want to realize that we all make decisions. Some are super, super great, and some are not great, and some are pretty bad. But if us to learn, what did we do and how can we do it differently, then we make friends with indecision.
Now, at any given time, we become indecisive. We are not able to make decisions. But what then draws the line between an okay indecisiveness and an indecisiveness which then is not okay?
Would you re-ask the question? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Okay. Any single person at any given time, there are times when we are indecisive.
Mm-hmm.
Indecisiveness is like part of our life as human being. But then when do we draw a line between indecisiveness that is
got it.
Exactly.
Yes. So I'll use the breakfast analogy again.
Yeah.
If it's normal to be indecisive about what to have for dinner, or should I take this job, or should I have this for breakfast, those are all normal. We're checking with our brain and our heart. So that's actually good. It means you're not making rash decisions. When it becomes a problem is when I stand in the kitchen for 2 hours and say, oh, I don't know what to make for breakfast. What should I do? What should I do? And another hour passes and I'm still there and I'm not eating.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of the comical one, because most people will never encounter that. But let's look at the real life world where somebody may be in a job that is not healthy for them.
Yeah.
And the boss is mean and they're not getting it paid enough. And they keep going every day to work. And they feel worse and worse. And it feels like a very toxic environment. And they think, I should get another job. Oh, no, I shouldn't. I should. No, I shouldn't.
Yeah.
I should. I shouldn't. And that persists for a year or 2 years or 3 years. That's when we know it's toxic. When it persists and is not making anything better. So the situation at work isn't getting better. The indecisiveness isn't helping. And the person's mental and physical health, because of the stress, is getting worse. And that's what we need to look at. Are you being paralyzed by the indecisiveness?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does make a lot of sense. Now, how does one get to know? Because this person who probably is going to a toxic work environment and keeps going and going, how is he supposed to be helped? Who is supposed to help? Because I want to get to think that this person is already not able to help themselves because they are not able to make a decision.
Absolutely. And imagine this, right? Just a little candle. And this is a person. And we put that person in here. That's how we are when we're so low. We're stuck. But when we come out of our stuckness and say, I need help from a pastor, from a therapist, from a rabbi, from a best friend, from a support group, then we can get support from all of these people around us. We can get help from a book, a good self-help book. We can get help from a podcast, right? Because listening to something outside of this very finite thing we call our brain.
Yeah.
And so that is one of the best ways to break up any negative habit is getting support. Again, individual therapy, it can be group therapy, it can be self-help books, it can be journaling, it can be talking to a friend. And it's one of the reasons that I actually started my own podcast, Imperfect Love.
Yeah.
Because there are so many people around the world who can't afford or access mental health.
Yeah.
And when you create a podcast environment, you're in a sense creating a place for support where everyone can come if they have any access to technology. They can listen at their own speed, in their own time, and learn.
Yeah.
And then talk about their thoughts with someone else.
Yeah.
And when we do that, when we connect with other people, then we move out of just seeing our own problems through this very limited lens.
Yeah.
And see them through the perspective of other people. And we also realize that we're not alone.
Yeah.
We realize that what we struggle with is so common, that we're not, that so many people struggle with things like indecisiveness. And so we join with them and say, well, how did you overcome your indecisiveness? What worked for you? And maybe that will work for you, or maybe not, or maybe you can switch it up a little bit. So I'm a believer that when we connect with other people in formal settings or informal settings, and we talk, we get curious, we ask questions, and we never, ever, ever judge ourselves.
Yeah.
If I'm indecisive and I'm judging myself and saying, oh, I'm so stupid for being indecisive, I'm a bad person, I'm going to make it worse because that talk is so negative. So it doesn't help to judge.
No, it doesn't help. And therefore, we are also telling people out there to stop judging others.
Yeah.
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 So, what are there other symptoms of indecisiveness?
I think I touched on most of them. The paralysis that comes.
Yeah.
Being indecisive, you can feel really stuck and paralyzed. And interesting, Pamela, in my first book, I'm going to reach down for it. It's the joy from fear.
Yeah.
And my first book, and it's all, why is it called Joy from Fear? Because when we're stuck in fear, we get immobilized. As we learn how to release ourselves from fear, we create. We truly do. And it doesn't mean we'll always be in a place of joy, but it means we will have less and less fear running our lives. And so when fear runs us, we can surely become indecisive. We can become depressed, anxious, sad. We can become rigid, really inflexible because we're afraid to go left or right, or rigid. We can also become very sort of self-contained in an unhealthy way, because that's why we're showing this, right? If I get stuck in here and I'm afraid to move, I'm not going to experiment.
Yeah.
I'm going to try new things.
Yeah.
So then you become very closed down and you don't evolve in healthy ways.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, we grow so much when we take healthy risks.
Yeah.
We don't tend to grow if we take unhealthy risks or, don't think. But when we think about something, go, wow, that might push my boundaries. It might be a little uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it because I know I can. because I have the support, because I believe in myself. And when we take that attitude, we become empowered and we really grow.
And therefore, again, we are getting back to what we started with relationships. It's very, very important in helping others out of their fear, out of their indecisiveness. But again, it is the way I relate to other people that helps them relate to me. Is it?
Yes, the way we relate to the self, if we are with the self and we love the self and are kind to the self and are gentle to the self, most of the time, we can't, we're not perfect. Sometimes we all have little hiccups.
Yeah.
But then that tends to come out in our interactions. So the more kindness there is in here, the more gentleness, the more respect, the less likely we are going to be unkind or disrespectful to other people.
Yeah.
And where that gets confusing, Pamela, I've really seen this. I do this a lot with my clients. They'll say, oh, but this person I know is very successful and they do yoga and they exercise. And then I went on a trip with them and they were really, really horrible and mean to me. Yeah. And I heard them talking really horribly to their kids. So or their husbands. So for many people, the outside, that pretty outside, the attractive, I have it all together outside, is not matched by a kind inside.
Yeah.
And so that's the relationship we want to create with the self, is that congruency, that my outside is kind and gentle and my inside is kind and gentle. That the way I act in the world is the way I act behind closed doors. And many people have trouble with that.
Thank you for watching this episode of Mental Wellness Insights. We would wish to hear your comments about the topic in discussion, indecisiveness. We would also wish that you tell us what other topics you would like us to bring. This channel is all about information, education, and awareness in regards to mental health. Blessings.